What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dancers or Athletes Do podcast, where we discuss the athletic aspects of dancing. I'm your host, Slim B. So in this episode, we have as guest Jeanne-Marie Branche. Jeanne-Marie, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to have you on the show today. Before we get started, can you introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jeanne-Marie Branche. I'm a senior at the University of Tampa. I'm a double major in applied dance and communications. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and I've lived in Florida for about 17 years now. I'm now 21 years old, and I live in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Cool. So another guest from the United States on the show. You said that you're a dancer. That's one of your majors. Can you explain your journey as a dancer so far? How did you start? When did you start? Your styles that you have been dancing up until now?
Yes. So I started dancing quite literally when I was a baby. Literally yesterday or this morning, my mom was telling me how I used to sit when I was like 2 years old and I'd just dance in my seat. So it's kind of been in me for a while. I started doing, I think, tap and jazz when I was about
Mm-hmm.
3. And then the studio closed down and I stopped, and I was kind of doing dance at little like summer camps and stuff here and there. But I started more seriously training, I want to say when I was around 11 or 12, and I haven't stopped since then. And I'm now 21. So that's about 10 years now. Decided that I wanted to pursue it in college. It's a different route than what I usually wanted to do because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to perform. I wanted to be on the stage, which I still want to do, but my track kind of changed since I transferred over to college and university. So the program at the University of Tampa, it's applied dance, and it's more teaching dance, dance education, dance pedagogy for more diverse populations. We are educated in brain compatible dance education. So that's a different method of teaching and enabling that and creating and changing lesson plans for various populations, showing that dance, you don't have to be labeled as a dancer to dance. Anyone can dance as long as you teach it differently and adapt those lesson plans and teaching methods to who you're teaching to, essentially. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I discovered you actually through your website, dancersindelight.com. You also have your Instagram page. I will definitely link them in the show notes.
Thank you.
And there I read actually that you intend to blend both of your studies to integrate proper marketing and branding for individual dancers, dance companies, and artists locally, nationally, and globally. Like you said that you're doing a double major. So the first one was applied dance, and then the other one was communication, if I'm correct. Like,
Yes.
how do these relate to each other, or where do you see the connection for both of them?
So a little backstory coming to college. I'm a person who has so many interests. So choosing what I wanted to study, which a lot of people also battle with, it's like, what do I study? And I decided I wanted to do both. Another backstory on that, we have a family business down here. We have 2 restaurants in South Florida, and it was kind of thrown on to me that I do all the marketing, all the social media and stuff, and I fell in love with it so quickly. And then during the year of COVID and still now, we had to change over online advertising, more social media. So I educated myself a little bit more. And then I've also attended workshops, other dance intensives around the country and locally as well. And something that's been reflected was the importance of social media, the importance of your personal brand, not only for a business, but as a dancer, you are your own business. And that really struck me because I grew up with the business side with my parents and my family, and just kind of shifting that over to myself as an individual and other dancers. What is your brand? Who are you? Who is your audience? Who are you marketing to? What kind of programs do you want to see your work, etc.? So I think it's really important for dancers, performing artists, anyone in that kind of container of careers, to really make yourself unique, brand yourself. Like me, I'm Dancers of the Light. Obviously, my name is there too, but my blog and stuff has different categories within it that are for specific people in the dance world. So I do like nutrition. I have some fitness things. I'm bar above certified. So I'm kind of like a general scheme of everything. So back to your question, where do these fit in? I fell in love with marketing and I do it for a couple like local businesses and online businesses, but I truly see the importance of it, of doing marketing and personal branding for an individual and
Mm-hmm.
learning the tactics and techniques and what works for businesses. I'm now translating that, excuse me, over to myself and hopefully to other dancers eventually.
Yeah. And how does it relate to the applied dancing? Because there you say you learn teaching techniques and so on.
Hmm.
So how does that connect when it
I
comes to
haven't
that?
really found that out yet. I think it can connect probably by advertising or using social media as a way for dance education. We've
Mm-hmm.
kind of had to shift uh, over to that during COVID. So I think it was and is challenging, but I think it kind of pushed us dancers and performers to kind of put ourselves out there even more. I've taken classes online. I've
Mm-hmm.
watched Instagram live videos. I've paid for classes online. So it's just finding that middle ground of, yes, you could host a class online. Yes, it's hard, but you can also advertise it and market it properly on your social media under your brand, how I said before, and use that as a starting point and a way to push again the dance world and kind of just shift because we had to.
Yeah. You mentioned marketing and branding
Hmm.
already. What is actually the difference between both of them?
Um, I would say branding is more what makes you you, what makes you
Mm-hmm.
unique, what makes you stand out, similar to a company. No dancer is the same, no individual is the same. I've taken multiple master classes and everything is different. So I think branding is more personal to the individual, and what makes you stand out in the crowd because the dance world is huge. And so you need to stand out. And then marketing is essentially promoting, advertising, making yourself known as this specific brand individual. So social media ads, if you want to, having that social presence, which is super important now because Instagram made a whole bunch of new announcements last week and with videos and reels and stories. So it's really managing getting yourself out there and
Mm-hmm.
promoting yourself as an individual and as a brand, and then overall to your audience.
Yeah. And when we look specifically at dancers, when it comes to branding, like what are their needs? Because you say, yeah, you have to be you.
Hmm.
That's all nice, and yeah, people hear that a lot in general. But
Yeah.
what does that come down to? Does that mean that you have to make your post maybe in a different way that you edit it, or maybe use the different types of songs? So yeah, what are the dancers needs specifically there that they have to tackle?
That's a tough question because, like you said, everyone hears that you need to be you, you need to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, every dancer is unique in their movement, in their teaching style, in their overall quality, learning and stuff. So I think it's just kind of finding what you're comfortable with and even what you're uncomfortable with as well. Because I know, recording yourself and putting yourself out there on social media is hard. I battle
Mm-hmm.
with it sometimes too, but I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And just try it out, and with the perspective of marketing, like what I do for businesses and with my family business, you never know until you try, which is the game in marketing. Like you could put a post out there and it doesn't work, but another one works, and it could be a different picture or a different phrase or caption, or maybe a different type of story engages someone, or a different song. So kind of just getting down to the nitty gritty and picking your
Mm-hmm.
niche. And yeah, trial and error. It's a tough game, but it works in the long run. There's so many things that could come to fruition, which is where I want to be the kind of that middle person, kind of coaching and guiding dancers what to
Mm-hmm.
do, because you could get so lost in social media and marketing.
True.
And some people think it's so easy. Oh, all you have to do is put a post out there, put a couple hashtags, that's it. But there's more strategy behind it. There's a certain number of hashtags, certain variety you should use. Like you shouldn't be using the same ones, different times to post, different ways to write your posts. So yeah, all of that in the grand scheme of things, which really make you more unique in a very busy dance world.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned social media a few times. Is that like the only focus that we then have at the moment, I mean, okay, having personal TV is probably out of budget for most people, but like, is it only social media and it's really like focus on that? That's the way it's going to be for the time being, or do you say there's also other options that are maybe not so straightforward, but still really useful to get yourself out there?
I think there are a dozen options. Social media right now, just because it's so popular and it's
Mm-hmm.
free, it just takes a lot of work and you have to be willing to do it. You can't give up. Kind of like dance training, practice makes perfect. Not really perfect, but makes you better. I think there's different ways that you can tailor your brand to reach certain people. Like for example, you have a podcast. I have other friends with podcasts. Podcasts, sorry, that's their thing. People listen to it. Great. TikTok, you have YouTube videos. YouTube videos are longer. I personally don't like YouTube, but I know I have friends
Mm-hmm.
who like live on YouTube, could watch it for hours. So it really depends. It boils down to your audience, your age group, and who you want to reach out to. So I want to reach to people just like me. So I personally think staying on social media, like Instagram right now specifically, is okay. Other things I have in mind, I think I'd use Facebook for a different type of demographic or audience. So it really boils down to who specifically do you want to market to, which a lot of people kind of go over. They don't think it's that important, but it really is, because in the long run, you might end up wasting so much time on this platform and you realize, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, my audience is on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook at all. So kind of figuring out where you want to be. But I don't think it's a hard question to answer too, because social media has taken over the past couple years. I do think it's where you have to be now, but I have no idea where it's going to be in the future. Some part of me
Mm-hmm.
feels like we're going to go backwards to no technology at all because it's exhausting and it's tiring. So maybe back to old school ways, but I'm not sure. I think for now, this is what you have to leverage to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And is it a necessity? Because I mean, there are also people, okay, who are not on social media or less, and they
Mm-hmm.
still like get their gigs, but maybe that's because they were already active before social media came up. So is it a necessity if you say like you start now, you say I want to do it more professionally, or maybe 20 years old, can you say I'm not gonna do it, I'm just gonna post pictures of my cat and my dog every 2 weeks, and maybe a picture
Mm-hmm.
of my food when I'm on holiday, and that's it? Is that going to work? Do you miss opportunities? Because
Um,
some people actually now are
mhm.
scouting using Instagram and say, oh, I saw this dancer online and it was really dope
Mhm.
choreo, I want to book him for a workshop. So you might think that you are missing out on certain things if you're not active on the platform.
You might be, because like you said, people are looking for other dancers and stuff online just because it's such a big platform now. I don't think you'll miss out if you aren't on social media now and you're pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
I would say social media is very competitive, so it might be a bit harder. But I think as a dancer, as a performing artist, it's important to leverage technology as much as you can, especially because it's not like, I don't know how things are, but for most places, you probably still can't go into a studio, put out like a business card or something. Everything's online. So even just like emailing a bunch of people, get a nice professional email, have a good website so someone could look at your work, look at what you've done, and see you essentially, because you're not in person right now. So yeah, leveraging various types of technology. I know some people are stubborn to social media, and that's okay. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to adapt, but I think it's recommended just because of, again, like the shift, everything is mostly digital. So I think it's kind of finding what you're comfortable with and not really overwhelming yourself, because it can be overwhelming and then it's easy to give up, but just finding one thing to use. So if it's Instagram, focus on Instagram. If it's Facebook, focus on Facebook. If you're more comfortable with emails, do it. If you want to do phone calls, go for it. Just find that one thing to still
Hmm.
get yourself out there.
Yeah. And like, yeah, the thing with social media that you also have is that sometimes, how can I put it, that popularity is sometimes put on the same level as quality. It's not because a
Mm-hmm.
person has a lot of views and a lot of likes on his video that he is maybe technically the best dancer or maybe even the best teacher, because it's not because you can dance a choreo perfectly and do it with everything technique that you necessarily can teach. So how do you maybe as a consumer balance that and say like, okay, this person can really dance, but actually as dancer he's not the best that I can invite? While then some people, when they want to promote an event, they want to show like, okay, this is a choreo he did or she did last
Mm-hmm.
week at this event, but that doesn't really say a lot about how well they can
Right,
teach.
right. That's interesting. From a teacher's perspective, because I'm obviously studying that in college
Mm-hmm.
and teaching even more now back home for the summer, teaching is so important. And there's various ways to go about it to kind of help the individual dancer and not just throw a random class out there and then have some of them lost or some of them looking at others that they lose their confidence. And there's so much mental and physical things that go into a dance class. So it's very important to have a good teacher as well. I would say for that challenge, maybe schedule a meeting with the dancer or the teacher, excuse me, kind of get to know them a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
like get to know their background, their teaching philosophy, their goals, how they work with different age groups and stuff like that. And even just going through comments, if it's on social media or going through other studios or companies that worked with the choreographer or teacher, I think that's a great way to get to know who you might invite or who you might want to come as like a guest teacher or as a permanent teacher in your
Mm-hmm.
studio. This is something I've learned too, but the dance world is very big, but it's very small. So if you have a bad rap, I feel like, I hate to say it, but I feel like people will know. They just
Yeah.
know. And even just like meeting with someone like virtually, I think personally I could get the vibe quickly if I know, oh, they're just here for the money and
Mm-hmm.
for the video and for the posts. They're not here on a deeper level. So I think I mean, some studios, some places really just want that. They want the post from this one big person, but other places really want more teaching and guidance and more workshop type things for their dancers. So I think that's something to look at too. What are you looking for from a teacher? And
Yeah.
then balancing out what the teacher's goals are and how that can work or not work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if I think about one of the classes that I did a couple of years ago, it was like your standard 1.5 hour workshop. Like
Mm-hmm.
the day after, I didn't remember anything of the choreo, but I still like remember two pieces of advice they gave, and it was just
Yep.
something that they said, two sentences. But that's something that you will not see in a 1 minute trailer where they do five
It,
choreos, and that's a
yeah.
promo video. That's something that you don't. I mean, people are smiling in the class, but that's
Yeah.
something that you don't know, that you say, okay, she will give me advice that I will take with me for the coming years, work on it,
Mm-hmm.
use it. So that's something that a little bit gets lost in all the flashier things that you
Definitely.
show on the screen. And you also said like some people want to have like the video at the end of the class. So how do
Mm-hmm.
you deal with that? Because I've also seen, understand, of course, if you want to put stuff online, you have to shoot it. And if you want to
Mm-hmm.
have like a class, then you have to shoot it during the class, unless you set
Mm-hmm.
up a specific shoot. Then sometimes we have that, like you have a class of 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, but the last 50 minutes are lost because the teacher wants to shoot it. And it has
Mm-hmm.
to be with the right people, the right angle, all that. And it's a little bit like, whereas a person who wants to have content like draws the line between, am I like wasting other people's time just for me to have
Mm-hmm.
content, or how should they approach it, that is like you're still giving value to your students if you're a teacher, while you actually can still get some content to use as marketing and branding?
That's interesting too. For me, growing up, taking videos was like, it wasn't anything new. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't really see how it might be a problem. just getting videos. I know some students might still be uncomfortable, so I know maybe for some classes, like not a waiver, but sign something that,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
this might be recorded. I think as in the teacher and dance educator's perspective, sometimes like I teach classes and I love to record everything I do, but sometimes I just get so into it and then the time is up. I'm like, all right, well, it's kind of like that comparison, like you're at a concert and you don't take any videos, you're just absorbing the
Hmm.
moment and the time there. That's kind of how I feel in a dance class. And I don't want to rob my students of that moment as well, because I get so into challenging them and motivating them and helping them move differently and learning the choreography I teach that day. I don't want them to just feel like I'm doing this for the video and for the creds online. So I think it's finding that balance, obviously balancing your time as well,
Hmm.
and really just making the class about the students, not
Yeah.
yourself. So if the opportunity comes, go for it. If it doesn't, don't stress about it. You could always record yourself teaching the choreography or just a group picture or something.
Hmm.
It doesn't always content is important, but it's not that important that you lose the relationships you created with your dancers within the hour and a half of class.
Yeah. Okay, so the students still should be on the first
Yes,
spot
priority.
there in the class.
Of course, yeah.
In the beginning, already like made a connection between other athletes or other sports
Mhm,
and dancers. Yeah, and therefore other sports, if we see like when it comes to marketing or branding, we see things like sponsorship deals
mhm,
happening. I mean, if we talk about the famous ones, then we would like look at maybe basketball, where you have Jordan. I mean, that's the biggest
mhm,
brand that came from something. But also, a lot of basketball players have their own shoes with different brands: Adidas, Reebok, all these things. And I also see that happening now sometimes with dancers, that they're promoting clothing,
mhm.
sunglasses. I've seen also posts about. So, is it something that people should pursue as a way of getting exposure, but maybe also have a source of income? Because I can assume that they might get a
Mhm.
percentage on sales if they get sales through their maybe promo code.
I think so. Personally, I have tried to become like an influencer with certain brands,
Hmm.
but some weren't successful, some were unresponsive. So I think that's something that should be filled in the dance world and performing arts world, because dancers use so many things from leggings to shirts, headbands, sweat towels, socks. I have so much socks. I love to dance, and if I could get a sponsor for socks, I'd love that. Um, so many things that we use, and I think I don't know if this is the right word, a little underrated. And I know it's a struggle to find that balance and that voice in the dance world, that dancers are athletes, which is
Hmm.
something I've kind of been not really fighting for, but just getting out there a little bit more, because I treat myself like an athlete. So I
Yeah.
think it's really important to have that opportunity for us as well, and to kind of just stand out a little bit more as dancers, as performing artists. So I think it's important that brands not only focus on like the famous dancers, because
Hmm.
for like Block and Sodanka, all those top brands in the dance industry, you have like Misty Copeland for Under Armour and stuff. Like that's what we know, but it'd be pretty cool if dancers like myself, college dancers, just regular company dancers and performing artists could have that opportunity as well for sponsorship, for small sponsorships, sorry, or even companies they could work with hand in
Hmm.
hand.
Yeah, and is it more than because I've seen some of these deals, and what you basically get, it's not that you get money, but you can get maybe a free pair of shoes. But at the end, with the shoes, you cannot buy food. So yeah, that you make sure that even if you have to put 2 hours a day making videos
Yeah.
and posting videos, and you just get a pair of shoes, that it might
Hmm.
not that it might be better actually to just work 2 hours in the shop, get more, pay the shoes,
Hmm.
and have extra money to
Yeah.
buy food, and other
Hmm.
things, because it might seem nice to get a pair of shoes every month, but
Yeah.
if you have to put in 50 hours a month, then you might better
Hmm.
get a regular job, quote unquote,
Yeah.
because that's I mean, financially, that's better. You don't
Yeah.
have the fancy post, maybe, or the fancy
Mhm.
shoes. But money wise, it might make more sense.
I think it's up to the individual and what they think they can handle, because each like brand deal requires different type of work, different amount of posts and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's kind of working with what they want, and also how much work you want to put in personally. I know for a fact it's a lot of work to get the product, take a photo of the product, take photos with it, getting
Yeah,
dressed for videos, setting
exactly.
it's a day of production. But I
Hmm.
think it's a beautiful thing because dancers are used to that. So in a way, it's not hard. You know, you get your hair done, do whatever makeup you want to do. You have a light, you film yourself, you smile, a small caption, and you post it. So in a sense, it can work. You can balance it out. I personally know that starting out, it's going to be challenging. But as an individual, you have to find your flow and balancing everything out in your life, in your performance, in your real job, in your side hustles. So once you find that balance, I think it's definitely doable. And a little bit of money here and there doesn't, I don't know. I think it helps,
Hmm.
even though if it's not a lot, I think it's important, especially if you're working with like a good company, good people behind the company, good brands. I think those little steps really help you get your way in the door in the dance world, and just a little bit more, even if it's not like a huge brand. Little steps go a long way. So I think it's definitely worth it. You just have to be willing to do the work.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you say, yeah, you have a whole day production sometimes if you want to do something. But
Hmm.
how do you balance then the marketing and the promotion versus your art? Because I mean, some people follow you or inspired by you because of your art, your dancing,
Yes.
and they don't want to be treated as just like a way of getting sales. So how do you
Yeah.
balance then that it's, yeah, that you're still seen as a dancer, as an artist, and not just as a promoter of clothes or other things?
I think maybe just also like just showing your everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
and just really getting personal on Instagram and just kind of showing people I'm a real person. I am not perfect. I don't have a perfect body. I can never do a triple pirouette every single day at the studio. For me, how I've been balancing that, I have days at my studio back home that I actually teach. I have days I go in just to work on choreography, but I record things. I go on Instagram. I have a story. I still engage with my audience, so it's like they're there with me. So I kind of keep that up. I'm not just posting for the likes, posting for the sales yet. I don't have sales for anything, but that's something I'd like to do. I
Mm-hmm.
have a couple ideas for that, but I think just really taking them into your life and making not just doing the post for doing the post's sake, just really taking that time. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually not too hard in my opinion. Like all I got to like I don't even really think about for some videos, yeah, I do prepare a little bit more, but sometimes I would just post an improv video or just I record myself as I work by myself in the studio. And um certain posts I do plan out because I want certain videos of certain things. So I
Mm-hmm.
do organize that and plan that out like I would for like other businesses I work with. I plan what posts I want, what content I want specifically, and I record that at the studio. So I do it all in that day that I'm there, or those couple hours that I'm there, and then I just kind of edit it, show the editing process. If I didn't get good videos that day, I tell them I didn't get good videos. It was a rough day at
Mm-hmm.
the studio, and you're a dancer too, you know. Some days it's just not it, but
Yeah.
just kind of being raw and real with them as well. I think it's important to find that balance so they're comfortable with you, and they know you're not just trying to sell them something. You're giving them
Hmm.
more value than just a blender bottle or a pair of leggings or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. You already given a lot of tips that people can use, but what would be your most important one, or the first thing maybe that they should do if they say, okay, I want to step up my game, branding, marketing wise, would be the first thing that they should have a look at?
I would say figure out who you want to reach, and then what you want to put out there and what makes you unique. That kind of goes together. For me, as I told you before, I want to market to young dancers my age. I want to target more to Christian dancers in the dance world because I am a Christian. I do have that faith, hence the name Dancers of the Light. I believe that God gave me a purpose with this talent, and I'm now trying to figure it out. How can I help people? How can I impact people through dance? So things like that. So that's my niche, and I'm still figuring it out. But I think figuring out where you want to fit in the dance world, because there's so many unique ways to take it. And also me as well doing marketing coaching for performing artists, I feel like that lacks as well too. So promoting that for myself, just finding what specifically you want to do, you want to provide for others, what value do you want to give, and what do you want them to receive, essentially.
Yeah, great. And you actually also answered my next question, what your future plans are, or kind of, but do you already have an idea maybe once you graduate what you want to do? Want to work for a specific company, or maybe start your own business immediately for dancers, or maybe a combination of different things?
I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's going to be a combination. I actually graduate this December, so
Oh,
it's
okay,
creeping
nice.
up. I'm trying not to stress about it because so many people are coming up to me. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing after?" I'm like, "I don't really know yet." But I have so many things I want to do. Actually, this summer I've kind of started more freelance work for my own marketing business, like I mentioned,
Hmm.
doing marketing for local businesses here in South Florida and e-commerce businesses. So that's been successful. It's been a lot of work, but so far I'm balancing that passion out along with dance. I'm also working on a nonprofit as well this summer it's called the Freedom Dance Project. It's a dance movement program for survivors of sex trafficking. So that's something that I really want to pursue long term. I really found my passion for working with kids and the social issue as well. So I really want to work with that. But the benefit with my knowledge is anything I want to start in the dance world, I know the marketing behind it. So
Hmm.
it's kind of cool to see how that works hand in hand, because a lot of people ask me how do these things work, and I'm finding that out. I have a nutrition program I want to start because, like you said, dancers are athletes, and I've noticed a lot of my friends in college, they don't eat, they don't take things before, they don't take things after. So having that line branded for dancers, I think that would be
Hmm.
cool to have eventually. And yeah, this main umbrella of marketing for dancers as well. So those are my big things. Performance wise, I'd love to join a company somewhere in between after graduating while my body's still young, while I can still move and perform normally. So I have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of goals. I also want to take what I do dance wise and even with my movement program abroad. So I have a lot of dreams. Hopefully they all come true. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm excited. I'm trying not to worry about it because I know it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. But I'm super excited to finally figure out my role in the dance world, I
Hmm.
guess, because I've done it my whole life, and how I can bring joy to others, bring joy to myself as well through dance. So I'm super, super excited about that.
Yeah, great. A lot of different and
Yeah.
inspiring things coming up. Before we say goodbye, for the people who want to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way to do that?
The easiest way to get in touch with me would be to follow me on my dance Instagram at
Hmm.
Dancers of the Light. You can message me on there. I believe my personal Instagram is also linked in that bio, so you could find me there as well. And my email should be on that profile as well. So once you hit that follow and you send me a message or send me an email, I will definitely respond.
Yeah. Okay, great. Jean-Marie, thank you a lot for joining this episode. I mean, I wish you the best with all things that are coming up, and maybe I'll talk to you again in the future. Bye bye.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
If you want to know more about podcast, you can find us on social media. We are at DAAT Podcast. DAAT stands for Dancers or Athletes Too. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also check out our website at daatpodcast.com. I'm also on social media. Surprise, surprise. You can find me at This Is Slim B. Thanks for listening, and I hope you tune in again for our next episode. Take care. Kobo out.